Hello, and welcome back to one of my Hollywood stories. Tonight's episode is rather a YouTube exclusive because social media limits me on how much time I can put something out. Therefore, this one is going to be just on YouTube. And it's a rather controversial one, and who knows? Some may threaten to sue me over it, but the story you're about to hear is true. It's true, and if you want to get them for money, well, I don't have any, frankly. And, then again, I didn't make my fortune ripping off my friends. But let's get into it. So, the year was 1995, and it's a recording studio not too far from here, but in North Hollywood. Rozz, our dear friend from Christian Death, had invited my then wife and myself to come over and possibly participate, maybe do a little backing track on Panic in Detroit, his famous David Bowie cover off the Aladdin Sane album. And we went out there, and it was like a work night. Again, it was similar to this. And after a little small talk, a little chat, and some friendlies, Rozz had invited Dinah, in Cancer, 45 Grave, to come into the studio and possibly lay down a backing track. And yeah, it was cool. I was going to sit this one out. Wasn't feeling too well. So there I was left with Jeremy of STG, and that record producer who was, at that point, I still considered to be my friend. Now, understand, a lot of bands' contracts were up for grabs, and no one was going to renew them. So this said record producer, now if you go looking for the track, you'll know who I'm speaking about, and I'm not going to name him here. He's not even worth mentioning to me. Nonetheless, as Rozz is laying down the tracks inside, unknown to him and to Dinah, I get approached with a rather disturbing, unsettling proposition. You see, they had made it up to me how they were well aware that I was on the way out. And therefore, I had nothing to lose and plenty to gain by hearing them out on their little proposition. And I was curious what that might be. You see, I was asked to steal the master recordings of 45 Grave and any other projects. Now, mind you, that's not something I do, all right? I got rather offended by the whole thing, and the more this went on, Jeremy's up there looking at her, giving me these looks like, you might want to consider this. This might be good for you. And I'm thinking, God damn, you little weasel. Who the fuck are you? All right? Now, mind you, we hadn't fully broken up yet, but things were going really south. And I think more people were aware of it than I was at the time. But still, my little internal problems with my then wife were our problems and not theirs. It was not for public consumption. And I definitely wasn't going to be looking to fuck her over to benefit someone else. That wasn't in my cards. I wasn't going to do that. And, it occurred to me, she doesn't even know. And Rozz never knew. I didn't tell him. I couldn't have told him. He trusted these people just like I trust them. And I felt very betrayed. I was so shocked by the betrayal. I didn't speak of it for a long time. And it still angers me when I think about it. I was like, what kind of a lowlife do you think I am that I would steal some shit? Now, mind you, Mary didn't have too many masters in her possession. She had a couple that her first husband, Paul Cutler, had given her. So she had some 45 Grave material on him, but not very much. As far as other recording projects, not too much on hand, because as I will place in another video, I will talk about other projects that nobody had ever heard of because we never got out of the studio because Mary kept pulling the plug. Oh boy, deja vu. Anyway, so they're looking at me and saying, you know, you really should consider our offer, and never really quite said what was in it for me, but I was really offended. And I said, you know, I don't steal from people. And as far as my marriage goes, it's like, as south as it may be going, it's none of your fucking business. How dare you ask me to do something so unethical that goes against everything I believe in? I wouldn't do that. I would, you know, even as angry as I was at her, I wouldn't fuck her over on that level, because that's not who I am. I've never been that person. You know, sure, I could have taken a lot of shit from her when we were breaking up. I mean, we were fighting over our children and what was left of the short life we had together. But that's not really a story I want to share. So Rozz never knew this. Dinah Cancer never knew this. But now you do. And as far as Jeremy goes, well, we weren't really friends to begin with. In fact, I mean, he wanted to put clubs and movie sets, but he was never a friend. So if he's offended, well, sorry, but this is what happened. And the fact you participated made me sick to my stomach. I did tell Shane. Shane of STD had no knowledge of this either. In fact, he only recently heard of this and he wasn't too happy about it either. But that was the past. And this was a piece of the history. And Rozz wound up recording this. He made a couple versions of it. Whether he used the track with Dinah in it, as far as I know, I don't hear her on the vocal track, and who knows where that master may still be, who knows, but you know, I'm not into those things now as far as recordings and masters, because I usually, you know, those were usually in the hands of the engineers or the person who actually owned the mechanical rights to these things. So no, I would not participate in such a thing. Never have and never will. And well, I had more than one opportunity to tell Rozz and to tell Dinah, because you know, when it came to shit like that, we would put our shit aside and we'd talk, because we were still married at the time. I'm remarried, and sure, couples do have their fights and their issues, but when it comes to mutual issues, we'll stop for a second and we'll say, hey, this is what's going on, you need to be aware of that, and we'll come to a consensus and work things out. But, well, and if my dear ex is watching this by chance, well, I wasn't gonna do it, sorry. I could have, mind you, but it was neither in my interest, and just the mere idea that someone wanted to take advantage of our disintegrating marriage was, to me, was highly offensive. And well, needless to say, that said record producer, well, we never spoke again. As far as Jeremy goes, well, haven't seen him for years, and that's okay, whatever. I mean, he didn't say a word, but the fact he was kind of endorsing this thing, you know, it just really bugged the fuck out of me. Well, we wouldn't do that, so. I mean, years later, not too far from that point, we would separate and fight over our children and fight over turf, and things got very ugly. But we didn't steal personal property from each other. We didn't have much to begin with, but it wasn't worth it, and neither one of us would have really done that to each other, at least that I'm aware of. I know, and that's the story. And there'll be more. Until next time, please take care. Love you all.